to think that somebody would target an innocent child.
Tonight, a spike in violence this week in Winnipeg reaches a new low of lows, with a toddler in critical condition. Anti-Canadian or anti-colonial? Canada's first Prime Minister takes another bath in a fresh coat of paint.
People would hear things, they'd often hear very heavy footsteps on the stairs, even though no one would be there.
And things that go bump in the night on All Hallows Eve. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. Another assault this week has Winnipeg on edge. A toddler was found Wednesday morning suffering from multiple stab wounds. This follows a week where the city has seen 5 unconnected, vicious acts of violence. As Brittany Hobson shows us, the latest has community members asking what needs to be done to curb the rapid influx of violence.
A 3-year-old First Nations boy is in critical condition in a Winnipeg hospital after police found the toddler suffering from multiple stab wounds on Wednesday morning. Later that day, they made an arrest.
Daniel Jansen, a 33-year-old male of Winnipeg, has been charged with a number of offenses, including attempt to commit murder, assault caused bodily harm, and a number of court order violations, and he was detained in custody.
Police were called to a residence in the city's north end around 2:30 a.m. The boy was transferred to the hospital where he remains. APTN is not naming the boy or the family to protect the child's identity. On Thursday, police said the accused also attacked the boy's mother.
Investigators believe that the suspect had been in the company of the child's mother at an address on Main Street when she was assaulted. The suspect then attended the Pritchard Avenue residence, and the child was attacked before the suspect fled.
Police say the two were in an on and off again relationship, but Jensen is not the boy's biological father. Court documents from 3 months prior show Jensen had a no contact order with the mother, stemming from an incident where he allegedly assaulted her with a weapon. He's facing 4 criminal charges in connection to that incident. Constable Jay Murray said police have yet to determine a motive for the attacks.
I think it's inconceivable to think that somebody would target an innocent child, probably one that was attempting to sleep at that time of night, very defenseless. And I think a lot of people are having a hard time grasping that somebody would be capable of doing something like this.
On Wednesday evening, community members gathered outside Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre to send prayers and love to the family. Jennifer Spence-Clark organized the event.
This is the catalyst for change. Things need to change in our community, especially in the inner city. And I hope that we can do it in a good way. We can't fight violence with violence.
This is the 5th act of violence in the past 5 days. It has the city on edge, and grassroots organizations are desperately trying to find solutions. Bear Clan Patrol Executive Director James Favel says the violence has root causes.
It's isolated in that they're not related, but I don't think it's isolated in as much as it's really, related to poverty. It's related to the stress of living in crisis mode for so long. It's related to, the meth epidemic that's happening in our community.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And still in Winnipeg, another unfortunate update for you. Winnipeg police located an injured man late Thursday morning in the west end of the city. He has since died. Police say this is the 37th homicide this year. Earlier today, the Manitoba NDP addressed the ongoing violence in the city. Thursday's incident marks the 5th act of violence to occur in the past 5 days. Last weekend, 14-year-old Jakira Eastman Moore was stabbed to death at a Halloween party. An 18-year-old female was also stabbed but survived. On Sunday, police found 2 injured males in a back lane. Both later died. Also on Sunday, a male fired a shotgun in a North End home, injuring 4 people, including a baby. These incidents, along with the assault on the toddler, have some NDP MLAs calling on levels of government to address the violence. They are hosting a community forum next week.
Here's an opportunity for all of us to come together to listen to community members who are in the thick of what's going on, right? Here's an opportunity for all of us to come together, to listen, and have a community-led approach on what we need to do in respect of having safe and healthy communities.
On Tuesday, Sheshatshiu First Nation declared a suicide crisis following a series of deaths in the Labrador community and a rash of suicide attempts in recent days and weeks. Sheshatshiu Chief Eugene Hart has said the community does not have the capacity to deal with the grief. Chief Hart joins us now. Chief Hart, thanks for joining us. We're sorry to hear of the grief that your community is dealing with right now. We know suicide epidemics don't come out of nowhere. What do you want those watching to know about your community and the broader circumstances surrounding these events?
I'd just like to thank everybody that's called and offered their condolences to our community and the leadership that's come together in across the national. We are coping as much as we can, and we're still getting our plans in place. What are the next step? Because I don't just want to do baby steps. I want to do long-term, implement everything to be just like keep this going. Don't stop here, right?
Mm-hmm. Who have you reached out to for support, and who has offered their support to the community so far?
Well, so far I've received numerous calls from different First Nations across Canada and Labrador Aboriginal Affairs and the Premier of Newfoundland Labrador, and there's a lot of calls that's coming in from INAC as well and through Health Canada and IHB, and it's I'm overwhelmed with the support that's coming in, which that's why I put out the crisis that we're in crisis is I need supports to help us out through, because I don't want my staff and the community to be burnt out so fast.
Mm-hmm. Which is often the case. Chief, what specifically do you and your community need?
Well, at the moment we need, we have our counseling center open 24 hours, and it's been opening up since 2 days ago. It's open up all day, and the crowd there are different people on schedule. They're helping out, they're taking calls, and there's actually like a drop-in walking, and you can just drop in whatever time of the day or night, and there'll be someone there to talk to or just to give you a hand.
Are you hopeful any of the long-standing issues that have contributed to these circumstances will be addressed?
At the moment, we're trying to get over, finish off this funeral that we have placed coming tomorrow. My sympathies goes out to the family, and it's been a hard week. So you're trying to justify yourself. You don't want to overdo it, and you just gotta play it the right way, and you'll get it done the right way.
Well, Chief, we won't keep you any longer. Thanks for your time, though, and we wish you and the community the best.
Thanks for contacting.
To Regina now, where as a result of the report of the MMIWG inquiry, Saskatchewan is holding an upcoming event to help families heal and support each other. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has the story.
The body of Danielle Eowyn's sister Lainey was found on the outskirts of Calgary, Alberta, 2 days after she had gone missing in 1982. Eowyn says families of murdered and missing Indigenous girls and women supporting each other is important. That's why she's helping organize a murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls healing conference from family members like herself. The Mama Way Mikowishowin, Mayochowin, being together gives us solace gathering.
Coming together this way brings us comfort, and it gives us solace, and it's part of our healing. There's a connection and a bond that's made between people who have had that kind of shared lived experience, and there's that profound understanding of each other's grief, their anguish, and their anger at the injustice.
It's taking place November 8th to 10th in Regina. The planning started in September. There's already a long waiting list for attendees. Melissa Coomber-Bennetson of the Regina YWCA is also helping organize the gathering.
So I think we have 274 family members that have registered, and over 100 children have registered as well. So we're providing childcare in other locations, but the gathering itself, we're expecting over 300 people there.
The gathering will be held in a culturally sensitive environment at Everaz Place with elders and prayers to help participants debrief after the conversations and the discussions.
We put a call out to all of the bands and community leaders across Saskatchewan. We put a call out to government partners, the City of Regina, and asked to help support to make sure that all the families who wanted to come could come and access the gathering.
Organizers say it's important to have families of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls organize this event because they know firsthand what needs to be discussed and what supports are needed. Priscilla Wolfe, APTN National News, Regina.
Another spill from the Keystone Pipeline. Details on just how big it is after the break.
Hello, I'm Todd Lamaran, and here's what we'll have for you tonight on Nation to Nation. NDP MP Charlie Angus drops by our Ottawa studio. Talk about what the new Indigenous NDP members of Parliament can expect and what role the NDP may play in a minority government. As well, Mohawk policy analyst Russ Diabo joins us from Toronto, and he'll talk about what First Nations should be doing to protect their sovereignty and treaty rights. And since it's Halloween, we'll have more on a curse put on Parliament Hill nearly 200 years ago. That's coming up right after the national news.
Here's a look at Friday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. 17 and showers for Halifax and Charlottetown. +1 with rain for Nain, chance of snow, and 0 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. It will still be raining on Friday in Montreal with a high of 16. 2 with snow in Chibougamau. Snow in London and Toronto with a high of 5. +4 and snow in Peterborough. 0 in Wawa, +2 with snow for Thunder Bay. -3 and snow for Churchill, -1 and flurries for Norway House. +2 with snow for Winnipeg and Gimli, 0 and snow in Brandon and Dauphin. +1 with snow for Regina, Saskatoon and North Battleford. More snow and -1 in Uranium City and Stony Rapids. Welcome back. It's not the first time it's happened, and it likely won't be the last. A downtown Montreal statue of John A. Macdonald was spray painted orange overnight, and the anonymous culprits say it's about more than just Halloween. Lindsay Richardson explains.
Bright orange spatter is all that remains as proof of yet another baptism by paint for this downtown statue of Sir John A. Macdonald. And while the color might be on theme for the year's scariest holiday, the intent, according to those responsible, is to draw attention to an even scarier real-life history. Place du Canada and the neighboring Dorchester Square are a popular thoroughfare for ghost hunting hobbyists. Far beneath the cobblestones lie the remains of thousands of nameless Montrealers and Indigenous people, casualties of 19th century disease epidemics buried in unmarked trenches. Over the last year, the park's bronze statue was targeted again and again and again by anonymous activists operating under cover of night, demanding its permanent removal. This morning on social media, left as explanation for the most recent modification was a chillingly ominous note from beyond the grave. To the living, we are the dead that you have forgotten. Our skeletons, buried between 1799 and 1855, remain here in the thousands, it reads. You have covered us in asphalt, concrete, and colonial-themed parks. You've desecrated our memories with monuments to the architects of genocide, like the racist John A. Macdonald, who attacked the culture and traditions of the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. We don't forget, we don't forgive. Signed, the anti-colonial zombies. The anonymous group say the statue of Macdonald, a former member of conservative organization The Orange Order, is a public endorsement of, quote, brutal colonialism. While the city will once again remove the paint, the controversy will likely persist past the 31st of October. The activists in question say they will continue to vandalize the sculpture until the city mobilizes and removes it. Montreal police, meanwhile, say no arrests have been made, but an investigation is underway. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
We're beginning to get a sense of the scope of the leak from a pipeline carrying crude oil from Canada to the United States. Officials say nearly 1.5 million liters of oil leaked from the Keystone pipeline in North Dakota. Regulators were notified late Tuesday of the leak. The Calgary-based company behind the pipeline says the spill is contained, but don't yet have a cause. The pipeline is part of a larger system that would include the much-debated Keystone XL pipeline. For some would-be members of the Sawridge First Nation, Canada's Indian Act affects their chances at band membership. Tamara Pimentel continues her deep dive into the Alberta band with the APTN Investigates episode, Membership Denied, Part 2. Here's a preview.
Bill C-31 of the Indian Act, enacted in 1985, created two regimes of membership control. Section 10 meant bands could control their own list. Section 11 is controlled by the government registrar. Sawridge First Nation is a Section 10 band. This means the band controls its own membership list. And that is where the troubles started for people like Shelby Twin, the granddaughter of the late Chief Walter Twin.
I still have these at my parents' house.
Do you?
I'm pretty sure all three of these teddies I still have at my parents' house.
We met with her on Sawridge, though she currently lives in Edmonton.
It goes by the 1985 Indian Act rules, which I fall under to be a beneficiary. What they would like to do, as in the trustees, the current trustees, which also is chief and council, because the chief is a trustee. The idea is to make the band itself a beneficiary, which it's not currently. And so that would make it that they would get to decide who would be a beneficiary and who wouldn't be.
You can catch that episode tomorrow night after the news, and you can watch part 1 of Membership Denied on our website, aptnnews.ca/investigates. We're going to take you on a tour of some of Manitoba's most haunted places. That's coming up after the break. Here's the rest of Friday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. Snow and 0 for Peace River and Fort Chipewyan. Flurries in Medicine Hat with a high of 3, +4 under sunny skies for Lethbridge. Nice on the west coast, 12 under sunny skies for Victoria, 11 and sunny in Vancouver. +1 in Dease Lake with snow, +2 in Fort Nelson with showers. -11 for Old Crow, -3 for Whitehorse. +5 in Fort Liard and Trout Lake, -5 in Wrigley. -21 in Sax Harbor. Welcome back. A new comic book series is being launched, and the person who plays the superhero just may surprise you. APTN's Tina House has that story.
Comic books have captured the imaginations of countless generations. With superheroes like Superman, Batman, and even Wonder Woman, many would say that comic books allow the reader to enter into make-believe worlds where anything can happen. Now a new comic book is about to make a huge impact. Meet Minx, a strong and fearless warrior who takes on the evils in the world with her white wolves as her guardians. What's unique about Minx is that it's a comic book series that's taking on a whole new twist, featuring storylines centered around Indigenous legends, myths, and folklore. The main character of Minx is based on the creator-writer herself, Andrea Grant.
I had never seen an Indigenous woman superhero, and I thought, there has to be one. There has to be somebody who connects to her origins in a really powerful way.
Andrea has devoted the last few years in tracking down her Indigenous roots. Originally from Penelakut Island on the west coast, Andrea moved to New York City in 2004 to discover who she was. She quickly immersed herself into modeling, even being chosen as a Camel cigarette girl. Her passion for art and writing soon followed. and that's where she started writing Minx. By collaborating with cartoonist Ray Arzeno and with writing stories much like her own life, Minx was born.
She's on a journey of self-discovery as well. So natives believe that when you sleep and dream, you go into a dimension called dream time, which is as real and valid as this reality. So Minx is straddling both worlds and trying to find her place in both of them, both as the superhero in Dreamtime and as the artist who left the Pacific Northwest and her tribe and is trying to find her own sense of belonging within an urban.
She now lives in Southern California, but today she's in Vancouver working on her latest project called Modern Native. It's a spoken word video featuring Indigenous models and artists, all reciting a poem that Andrea wrote about what is a modern Native, and it will be released in early 2020. As for Minx, she's got big plans.
I created an entire universe with different spin-offs and different characters, and I've always envisioned it as a TV series. I feel that when I created it, I was far ahead of the curve. There were not really popular superheroes that were female, and we had Wonder Woman, of course, but now we have Wonder Woman, the modern version, and new ground has been broken. So it feels like the right time to have a strong female protagonist, but who's Native, because that's something that you just do not see.
Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Every Halloween, you can expect to see ghosts, ghouls, and witches running from door to door asking for candy. But not all ghosts ask for candy. Jolene Banning brings us this spooky story.
When a building has been around for centuries, you start to wonder, what secrets does it hold? Local author and tour guide of historical buildings, Matthew Kumis, was almost always asked, is this place haunted? He decided to find out. He talked to performers and visitors of the Burton Cummings Theatre.
Sometimes people will be rehearsing for a concert or doing a sound check, and they can hear a bunch of applause coming out of the empty balcony. Other times people see a young couple, fairly sort of handsome couple, standing center stage. But when they go to approach them, they say they just appear to be transparent.
Another building believed haunted by ghosts is the Masonic Temple, once a secret society that could trace its roots back to a fraternity of stonemasons. After the Masonic Temple closed down in the 1960s, it reopened as the restaurant Mother Tucker's. Staff and restaurant goers alike shared similar experiences.
People would hear things, they'd often hear very heavy footsteps on the stairs, even though no one would be there. But people would also see things a lot of the time. One group was, a small group was having dinner together, and they actually said they saw a pair of green eyeballs. Not an entire person, just the eyes float across the dining room.
As one of the original peoples around this part of the country, I wondered, did the Anishinaabe have their own ghost story or legend for Manitoba? This led me to Métis historian Cade Ferris in Red Lake, Minnesota. He told me about Whitehorse Plains, Manitoba. An Anishinaabe chief was given a white horse by a young man who wanted to marry his daughter. The horse was said to have magical powers, with speeds unmatched by any other. However,
another man wanted her, and he was going to, stop her at any way he could, and so he brought in the enemy, or, the people who wanted to kill the young man. And they fled on the horse, and he gave her the white horse, the special horse, and they were able to get away for a while, but eventually were caught and killed.
Legend has it that this ghost can be seen running across the prairie fields at night. Jolene Banning, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Very creepy and cool. That's your APTN National News for this Thursday. For the latest, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Have a spooktacular and safe Halloween night. See you back here tomorrow.